and we just have two kind of small engined little scooter motorbike things, but they served as faithful rides to take us out and let us discover a little bit more of the local area. So it was a fun day, and let's see what we encounter.
Driving in China is one of those things you have to be very careful, because people are going to tend to move things around rather than drive, and you have to look around all around you all the time. It's not.
Yeah, well, just here you see this boy and his dad. They are the first instance of me shaking my head dismissively at someone's actions, and it was about 30 seconds into the ride. And the reason I was shaking my head is because the dad looked left and looked right, as is good road crossing protocol.
Yeah.
And saw me, and then still pushed his son first. Pushed him out into the street in front of me.
I think it's a might is right rule applies. That the larger your vehicle, the more chances you have people get out of your way.
But does that count when you've got no vehicle and you're just pushing your son in the way? I'm not sure that counts. But either way, I managed to brake and avoid collision with the small child, so I was quite happy with how that turned out. Okay, yeah, so the route that we picked requires, I guess, 4 to 5 kilometres of riding this larger road.
The road surface is quite good as well. I'm surprised at how nice it is for countryside roads.
Yeah.
It's quite non-bumpy.
Yeah. Well, the only problem with this road is that it's lined either side by several concrete manufacturing or processing places, so it's really dusty. And it's full of these huge dumper trucks coming by all day. So this is not the most relaxing, the most enjoyable riding, but we're pretty close at this point to getting off this road and getting onto the smaller country road where things instantly become a bit more kind of interesting.
You get just suddenly go into another, almost like going back in time a little bit, rejoining a past China. Here we go, there's a good example of Chinese driving going up here.
And don't be mistaken, the rules are exactly the same. Those guys are absolutely meant to give way, and you might be surprised that the car in front there, it's a black Toyota, you might think, well, they were a bit there ahead, they perhaps should get out in front. But then this white Honda, is it?
Don't know.
I can't see, but this white car just decided that a moped isn't worth stopping for.
That's the might is right rule applies again.
Yeah.
I think that when you're on a motorbike in China, you've got to be ready to accept that, because it's going to happen again and again. Just have that hand on the brake all the time, and don't be driving too fast.
Yeah, don't let your pride get the best of you. Oh, great! So here's the turning off the main road. This is where it gets a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, it's a kind of fantastic, great span of the bridge.
Here's my bike coughing and spluttering and giving up. On the next trip it died completely, but actually a few days after this trip it also refused to start, and it turned out to just be a spark plug.
They're quite bomb-proof, these bikes, actually. They're made in the Guangdong motorbike factory, and they're pretty basic underneath all that cladding, and they just seem to go on forever. I mean, it was 4 years old?
Yeah,
so it's really 4 years old. It hasn't had much maintenance done to it, from what you've said to me.
No, I have not looked after it at all. I haven't changed the oil until essentially it's destroyed the internals of the engine. I've had to replace everything.
So they're wonderfully good value. I think they're cheap, and you're on the road immediately. And it's like they're similar to any kind of holiday scooter you'd get in Bali or Thailand or something. There we go. There's come up to an area. There's a couple of underpasses under smaller roads, and they have this habit of painting the walls of the underpass with advertising, and the paint that it uses is a kind of some of the cheap household paint, but it's very, very intense, bright colours, and later on hopefully we'll see when we stop to look at some of the sunlight on some of these hand-painted signs that they paint one over another, and then you get this sort of this abstract effect when the paint starts to peel and reveal what was underneath the first time. It's incredibly interesting.
And that was where you managed to confuse me, along with the locals, because you didn't say any of that on the day. You just peeled off and stopped under a bridge and started taking pictures.
So I was so excited when I saw it. I thought sometimes people, artists would struggle to create effects like that just happen completely randomly. It's sort of one of those Zen things, I think. It's sort of, where you just kind of try to imitate effects like that in art later on.
But I just couldn't get enough of these skies, just big blue skies with clouds on the hill line in the distance, and it's a really beautiful countryside. Again, we both kind of mentioned it. You could be on a rental scooter on holiday in Bali or Malaysia or Vietnam or a bunch of places. But there's something odd about going underneath a road or through a tunnel. I don't know why. Especially when you're riding a bike, perhaps it's the sound of your exhaust reflected back at you, or just the momentary drop out of the sun. Because when you're on a bike, all the elements are very noticeable.
Yeah.
They're affecting you constantly. You feel the sun on your skin, you feel the wind, you feel and hear the sounds. And just passing under a road like that is not really even a tunnel. It changes just for a moment.
They're often meeting places too for bikers. I mean, if anyone's ever been to Malaysia, you'll notice whenever it rains, people get rush to get underneath one of those bridges or overpasses and stand there smoking and chatting and kind of rearranging their ponchos and rain gear and waiting to see if they can have a chance to get off before the rain gets heavier. And it's like, I mean, I'm sure the same thing must happen here, because you can see.
And we went in the afternoon this day, so it was quite hot, and there weren't too many people about. Most people inside hiding from the heat, I think. But we did see some interesting sights, and it kind of turned into almost a photography expedition rather than a bike riding expedition.
That opportunity with that lorry there with the red sacks, and I think they're loading grain onto the back of the lorry. It was a really beautiful primary colour sort of image.
Yeah.
The blue sky, the red sacks. It was really quite nice.
Yeah, we both. Yeah, the Doppler effect.
Yes.
That kind of thing going on.
Yeah. So this is an unusual site. That kind of cubic tree root system.
That's right. Well, I mean, this is what you go for, right? To just stumble across interesting things. And here we have the tree that's grown around. I guess it was a family shrine, and the shrine has since crumbled, leaving house-shaped roots. See the little bit of female attention you got there.
Well, we get lots of attention on the road. Here we go, photo opportunity.
Yeah, she enjoyed that. She's quite a pretty lady for an older lady. Nice smile. She's very happy.
As soon as you ask someone to take a photograph, they start to smile, and it becomes less of a natural thing. So you kind of posing.
We're setting off from the tree there, having left a crowd of interested onlookers and spectators. I like to think we've brought good to the world by, taking people away from their modern distractions to look at an old tree.
Which it was interesting.
Of course,
was nature overcomes. It's not exactly Angkor Wat, but it was certainly interesting to see.
Yeah.
There was something underneath there that's crumbled away and left this wonderful root
I don't
system.
think World Heritage are interested in that tree.
But the village itself is obviously treasuring that.
Yeah, which is good. But when we set off again on the old open road, and we ran into a turning which was under construction, and that's, I like it, I mean, we're not Columbus crossing the Atlantic, but that's part of the adventure there. You see the unknown, and you just choose, well, let's go find out.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really interesting.
This is not very far away from the station. Actually, we were quite surprised.
I think actually, just under your left hand there, I think that is the train station. There's a few
down here,
white lines and masts. I think that is the high-speed rail. Guangdong East high-speed rail station. And you can see here, our adventurous spirit took us to a road which was particularly boring and uninteresting.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have that option to just go have a quick look. It was really bumpy and dusty again.
It's good to be witnessing these things, I think.
And these bikes are cool again because they're pretty simple, but they have little knobbly tyres, and they work well on the road, and they work reasonably okay on those sorts of rugged roads as well.
I think this is just coming up before the October week, and they've got all the flags out for nationalistic pride.
Yeah, it was National Week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I enjoyed this bit in particular because you don't get the sense of it so well from this angle, but you go from a small country road, which we've seen that we've been riding on, to this 8-lane wide, huge highway.
Yeah.
I guess they're preparing for future expansion. But yeah, and as Jamie mentioned, it's National Week, so there's as many national flags as you could possibly fit on a stretch of road.
People put them on their cars, and they can hang them out their windows and things. I know Singaporeans know that they have a flag delivered to them to hang out their windows, and it's a big deal in lots of Asian countries. But China does it the best, I think. They have them, everywhere.
You can see on every single lamppost here, all the way down. I don't know how long this stretch of road is, but it's a good couple of kilometres, I would say. And over a mile, definitely.
And the wee town is called Guangdong, is it Guangdong, the town?
This town, I'm actually not entirely sure what that's called.
Anyway, at the end of this, there is a small town, and it's where we discovered the booze shop and the factories that we.
The booze shop and the Kinky Boots.
Kinky Boots factory and the booze shop.
One thing that is interesting is to see the pace of change and see the pace of the growth of buildings and conurbations and urbanisations. What did I say?
Yeah.
What's a conurbation?
Conurbation's like the edge of a city, isn't it? Where it spreads out.
Oh, well, then it's the right word.
Yeah, I think you did. We'll have to consult a geography teacher to be sure, but I'm pretty sure it is.
No, don't talk to geography teachers. Yeah. They're uninteresting folk with leather patches on their elbows. Not worth talking to. And this is how we stumbled across an odd little patch of road that had a wine importer's / convenience shop on one side and a factory full of ladies making shoes, which we've mentioned.
Yeah, it looks. It's full of surprises.
This was another moment of photography interest. A guy digging a hole in the street. You care to explain yourself, Jamie?
Well, I think it's very surreal because there's on one side there's a wine shop selling expensive brandies and wines, which are kind of quite luxury items, which I think many people would rush to be buying on a regular basis. And on the other side of the street, there's open to the street on two sides a factory making what seemed to be quite kinky-looking shoes. I mean, really unusual.
In your mind?
But, well, no, actually, they really were. Kind of like, maybe I saw that film, Kinky Boots, and they look exactly like that. And
Boots.
It's like, but yes, there we go. So there's wine on one side and Kinky Boots on the other side of the street.
How does that translate
and
into the whole being interesting?
And the whole, in the middle of it, there's this strange man going about his business, digging a channel across the street, and it was just at the end of which there was a large wooden wine bottle that was sort of stopping the traffic. It's just the whole scene. So this feels like the weekend is longer when you do something like this as well. I think it's really good to have a whole day out on the road. It's just something about it that makes you feel refreshed.
Yeah, I just feel like you've done something productive. I guess if I was poetic in nature, I might say it feeds the soul. Well, here we get a chance to see the driving school that you were talking about.
Tented taxi.
Yeah. Even on the day, I realised I don't want to film the whole of this thing because it is just too slow. But this is kind of the average speed that students learn at, and even on the road, I've seen people driving this slowly on a road that's busy with traffic, travelling at the 80 km/h speed limit. Yep. You'll see learner cars like this cruising along at like 10. This is when it was your turn to be intrigued by my photography camera work. Decided to stand on the bike.
The motorbike as a tripod.
I pulled over to take a picture of the setting sun there, and then just the other side of the road, without having realised it, there was this little pond full of mangroves and mangrove roots sticking up, and it just seemed like quite a peaceful, kind of, in some way, idyllic spot. I think I made you pose.
Yes.
Pensively.
That's right, yeah.
We'll cut that out.
Do.
For me, a very big part of it is finding something which I didn't know I would find. So it's hard to, you can't perhaps.
I think it's curiosity, isn't it? It's always the curiosity that makes people do things like this. I've just found a pot, so I love pottery.
You have to explain this pot situation. But see here, you just pulled over quite abruptly and you're pointing. I was just flummoxed. I had no idea what was going on at this stage.
It's a big, high-shouldered earthenware jar. I found one like that in a situation in Kaiping, I remember asking the people in the village, could I have it if it's not being used? And,
Yeah, you're gonna buy it.
and they all kind of looked at each other and thought, we can get some money out of this guy.
We've come full circle. We're pretty much back to where we started, going under the high-speed road again.
A stunning underpass, overpass.
It is amazing, even though it's just like bare concrete. We've been riding for a good few hours and enjoying the afternoon, and we're just almost back. Whatever's caught Jamie's attention. What was it again, Jamie?
I just like the light passing through the inflatable toys, and it's that lovely afternoon light. And
you thought that was interesting, and I thought you taking pictures of it was interesting.
yeah,
So we kind of rocked up taking pictures of plastics, and me taking video of you taking pictures of plastics, and some guys thought it was very odd and confusing.
It must have been confusing, yeah. So I don't know. They don't get many tourists like that.
It did seem like those Chinese guys were just, their faces were just saying, "What are you doing?" I'm really trying to figure out what you're doing. I can't possibly think of any reason why you would be. Hope you've enjoyed the trip with us. We enjoyed it. We're probably going to try and do several more.